the CMA and the appraisal and how important that is for figuring out the value of your home. But if you're planning on taking on that value, let's make sure that you're getting a home inspection. Let's make sure.
Let's talk about that. I want to talk about that because I had no idea when I was going through this divorce process that before I made that decision to go and get to take on the house, that I should have gotten an inspection. So I knew the state of the house that I was taking on as my asset. Because if I had done that, I don't know if what would have shown up. I don't know if they would have been like, oh, you only have X amount of years left in your, air conditioning or your furnace. It looks like your furnace has a little crack in it or whatever. It would have been, a lot of things really went wrong. I know that we had water in our lower level. And I kept on telling my ex before we got divorced, before we separated, I really want to get a mold specialist in here, want to see if it's just water or if we've got some accumulation. And he kept pushing it, pushing it, pushing it. It's like, oh, that's such an expensive process. We're fine. I've got a dehumidifier down there. And then, take 3 years later, when he's living down there now, because that's when he's in the house, he's in that space. He's like, I see some spores on the floor. And I was like, oh my God, like now this is my expense. And I had talked to you about it 3 years ago and wanted to do it then. And now I have to take this on. And again, I could have gotten a Title V inspection done before I took that on as an asset. And most likely it would have failed that 3 years ago too. Like it was old. It was like our house was built in 73. So it was like it had not had an update. So please, if you're listening, listen to Amy. Don't just get the appraisal. Go and get an inspection. Know
Have
what
the
you're
inspection
taking
done.
on.
And I
Because
know we're talking about things called Title Fives. So in case you're not from Massachusetts, that's our septic inspection. And different states have different laws. For example, Rhode Island, it's the buyer's responsibility to do the inspection. But at the same time, if you are not hooked up to water and sewer, I know you think home inspection is within the home, but if you had that Title Five done, even if it passed in Massachusetts, if you have your system pumped and they reinspect it every year, your Title V will carry through for more than the year that it's worth.
mm,
Even if maybe it was on the verge of something, maybe it could have been a fix, maybe like a $5,000 fix instead of a full system, or all of these things. Or someone just saying, hey, do you have a garbage disposal? Garbage disposals are always the ones that are ruining septic systems across the country. So if you have a septic system, make sure you get rid of your garbage.
I didn't know that I have a garbage disposal.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, in the house anymore.
It's all right. Somebody else's problem. Sorry. Sorry, whoever bought it.
Yeah, I'm living without one, but I have one in my apartment too, which is great. So I honestly, that was one thing I really wanted to bring up, this idea around getting that inspection. So you know what the asset is that you are carrying over to your side of the equation and that expenses might be in the next 5 years with that house. So you can really begin to negotiate for that asset in a way that's meaningful because it might not be just the equity you have in the house. It could be the fact that you're going to have to put some repairs in. And just to let you know, in order to sell my house, I put in a lot of money just to get it ready to sell, all the painting and the repairs. And even though I had a punch list, oh, this is the other thing I can bring to attention. So I had a punch list of things that never got done in my marriage that needed to get done on the house. So we put that in the agreement, but we put it into the agreement that he had until September 1st, 2025 to get those things done. And that was the date by which our son went off to college and I was going to take over the mortgage, even though he was going to stay on the mortgage. Well, I sold the house before September 1, 2025. So he's like, I don't have to pay for anything because he had until then to get that work done. And therefore, do I decide to go fight him and go back to mediation and do that thing? And I said no, because ultimately that's what it says in the agreement. Like, what am I going to fight for? Am I going to fight for something that I know in writing says that he had until a certain date? So I just, unfortunately, you have to think about all these things, write different scenarios. In some scenarios, we did it right. We said either September 1st or when I sold the house. And for that particular thing, we did not. We just said September 1st. So again, really think through how you are speaking about the home, how the home is being valued, subtract the cost of updates or repairs that need to happen. How are you going to pay for those repairs to get the house ready to be sold? If those things broke during the time that you were still together, like it would be a joint responsibility. So again, you got to think of all these things, unfortunately, right, Amy?
Right. Think that Tanya and I, because we're in the divorce fields, we know so many people and so many experts where we can reach out and say, hey, XYZ, I'm thinking about this. Do you have thoughts on that? Those experts are all available to you as well. They're licensed and specializing in divorce for that reason. I think it's hard when people open up to their best friends or their family to try to get advice, and if someone hasn't been in your shoes or in your path, maybe they had an amicable divorce and maybe they didn't have a home, or maybe they didn't have young children or older children. So I always say, especially, let's leave the attorneys to the side because they're going to cost you the most money. Let's talk to a financial person. Let's talk to somebody who specializes in real estate divorce, or for your mortgage, like, let's make sure somebody understands and can give me a heads up to say, hey, if you don't do that now, let's look into the future and make a choice and figure out what's going to be best for you, and to make sure that you're not spending $65,000 on your house before you list it.